And joining me right now here on the Mark Moses Show for, I believe it is a hump day, a Wednesday. I had to get him on because he came on when we started the March Madness NCAA tournament. Now we have to do the recap show, how we both lost at our bracket challenge. He is the great Chris Graham with the Augusta Free Press. My man, how you doing today?
Doing great.
Oh, so that's a no then on how your bracket went. Is that what
You
you're
know,
saying?
I know, because we could have just outsmarted ourselves and
Mhm.
picked number one seeds, but nobody does that because if you do that, you get laughed out of the room. So, but this year it would have worked, and nobody did that. I didn't do that.
Here's what I had. I had Florida playing Duke in the title game. I also had Houston in the Final Four, but I thought Michigan State was going to beat Auburn. So I was close.
You were pretty close, yeah, yeah.
I was. I said this yesterday, Gators won it. I said this was a great Final Four. Both semifinal games were great. Title game was great. Then I get home, Chris, and they show the TV ratings, and it was like 18 million people, and all the ratings are up. First time, I believe, since your Virginia Cavaliers, since 2019. All number ones, all big boys. What does that say? As a guy that covers college basketball, what do you think of those TV ratings when you see that?
The ratings are interesting considering so many folks are out there are saying, I mean, I get emails, it feels like every day from people saying, I'm so tired of this transfer portal and all this stuff. And, you can't feel like you're close to the teams anymore because the teams change every year. And maybe that's the hardcore fans. And the casual fans say, well, there's brand names in this Final Four. I've heard of Duke. I've heard of, these schools. And so, but so at least this year it's good news. Well, we'll see for the future. I mean, I don't know that we're close enough. We're far enough into the NIL transfer portal era for fans to have been turned off like long term from, oh well, that the roster's overhaul and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it could be that down the road people will be offended at not having some constancy in their teams and that kind of thing. But right now, people are just looking at it and saying, "Good basketball, brand names in the Final Four, and let's go."
I felt like this was one of those tournaments. You bring up NIL. The casual fan knows some of the players. They know these names: Clayton Jr., Cooper Flagg. I think that's good for the state of basketball. And as you know me, I'm very big on, all right, college, then go to the NBA. I think this was good for the state overall of basketball. We have names, and maybe we can get names moving forward on these big boy programs. Do you feel that way?
I mean, you need that, yeah. You need brand names as the teams, just like Major League Baseball loved the fact that it was the L.A. Dodgers and New York Yankees in the World Series last year, and not, no offense to it, but the year before it was Arizona Diamondbacks and Texas Rangers. If you have number one seeds in their legit programs, I mean, Florida's now got 3 national championships in the last 20 plus years, 2 back to back, and then this one. You got the money programs in there. Houston, even though Houston hadn't been in the Final Four for a while, there are people who remember the Phi Slamma Jamma years. That's a brand name there. So, but then the players too. Now, the player Cooper Flagg's not going to be in college after he's already going to be out of college basketball. So that's an issue. I'm thinking back to the 80s and 90s and even into the 2000s. You'd have, guys like Christian Laettner, Shaquille O'Neal playing 2, 3, 4 years of college basketball, and you could either love them or hate them. But Cooper Flagg got a lot of attention this year, and he lived up to it. Janai Broome, same thing, a lot of attention with basketball fans, and he's in the Final Four. So, I think that you market around team names, you market around the brands, and then college basketball did a great job creating brands around guys who maybe were only stars this year. I mean, Janai Broome, people, there were basketball people who knew who Janai Broome was before going into this season, but on the larger scale, maybe he wasn't a name in everybody's living room kind of thing, but he became one this season, and that's what the college basketball, its TV partners, the conferences, the schools themselves need to keep working on. Is okay, they may only be here for a year, but we need to make them stars when they're here.
This is my complaint with the NBA. And I have many, and I'm a guy that loves the NBA. So you look at the draft last year. All right, who are the top picks? Oh, Victor Wembanyama's teammates. They're going to go 1-2 from France. What? Who are these guys? Then you get other guys. Oh, they're in the NBA elite. What is this YMCA league? What are you talking about? I feel like Cooper Flagg's going number one. People know who Cooper Flagg is. He was at Duke. That's going to make this more interesting. There has to be for the growth of basketball and the strength of it. You got to make sure college basketball is okay, and then those guys transition. I know I keep hammering this like a dead horse. This is very important to me, Chris, and I hope you understand what I'm trying to say.
I do, totally. I mean, the NBA, I mean, dating back to the near death of the NBA in the late 70s, it was revived by Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. The legend that grew up around them. They played in that national championship game in '79 and then went to the NBA and took their talents to the Celtics and Lakers, the two biggest NBA franchises, and revived the NBA as a result. Michael Jordan played at Carolina. He went to the NBA and into a big market, Chicago. Patrick Ewing at Georgetown goes to a big market in New York, and all those names, and and just go down the list there. All those names were guys that we saw in college for 2 or 3 or 4 years, got to know and appreciate their skills, and then they went to the NBA and it just blew up from there. It's you're finding talent all over the world. And Victor Wembanyama, we had enough of just a small taste of the highlights. We didn't get to see game action. Nobody watched game action of him in France and when he was 16, 17 years old. But you knew enough. He's a 7'4" guy who can shoot threes and jump through the roof and everything else. All right, I want to see that guy. But his teammates, I still can't. I can't name them now.
No, I can't either. Okay, this is where I turn into pro America. Okay, so when's the last time an American-born player won the MVP in the NBA? Is it Steph Curry 5 or 6 years ago? That's like blows my mind. Just what are you talking about? Because it's the Joker, Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're all Hall of Famers. They're all going to Hall of Fame. We got to make sure American players are winning some of these awards.
But at least Embiid at least played in college. I don't know if he played much because he was hurt there too at Kansas, but there was just a smidge of him in college. But the other guys, and maybe I'm just thinking out loud here. The NBA could do a better job using NBA TV to broadcast some of the other leagues. And I know there's talk about the NBA perhaps expanding into Europe. The commissioner's office and others up there are talking about. And I don't know how that would work. Whether it would be a separate league, whether they would somehow. You wouldn't want to travel back and forth and play, domestically here in the U.S. and have to play games over in France and Spain and UK and that kind of thing. But I mean, having a rival league there, maybe, but a better job of exposing us to them, because college basketball has done that for us for 80 years. And now we don't get to know these guys. I mean, now Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Joker and, Luka and those guys. I mean, now we feel like they're our guys, but when they were starting out, we didn't know who they were.
No, we did not. So what I'm trying to say is I love basketball. I loved this tournament, Chris Graham. I know it helps, and this is why I'm bringing you on today, because I said this to my buddy Alan yesterday, where we both talk Gators. We think it's a great tournament because one of the teams we cover won the championship. This was awesome. As someone, you cover the ACC. You're not in the state of Florida. Did you think it was a great tournament and exciting to watch overall?
It was. I am one who, I cover a team that for a number of years was a top seed or a top seed contender, Virginia, and they'll be back, in the next couple of years to that level. And so, I appreciate top teams advancing, and I don't, I know we're probably getting ready to talk about how there were very few upsets and certainly no sweet, no Cinderellas who made it very far, even if they, maybe did pull one upset in the first round. But I don't mind that. Because to me, I want to see the big boys play. I mean, the schools that have the talent and have the recognition, I want to see them go on and play the games like we saw in the Final Four at the high levels that you see. I mean, none of the top seeds this year. Maybe Auburn, they lost 3 of their last 4, and in the regular season / SEC tournament, they went in wounded, but then they won 4 straight to get to the Final Four. The other top, number 1 seeds, number 2 seeds, even some, the number 3s, nobody went in wounded. They all came in strong. They played strong. I want to see good teams playing in Sweet 16s, Elite 8s, and Final Fours.
I said this, I think once we got to the Sweet 16, I'm like, Cinderellas are dead. They're dead. And I feel bad. I went to a mid-major myself. I want to see David destroy Goliath, but I think it resets. And I want your take, Chris Graham, the Augusta Free Press. I think a mid-major now, moving forward, is going to be the lower-level teams in a Power 5 conference. And this breaks my heart to say, if you are UCF in the Big 12, you are a lower-level team. You are not one of the big boys in the Big 12. You make a run, you win 2 games in the tournament, you're a Cinderella now. I'm trying to think if you'd go ACC. I don't know, like a Boston College? Is a Virginia Tech? Is that a fair? I'm trying to think of the lower-level teams in the ACC. Those are the Cinderellas moving forward.
And I'm not sure even schools, the Virginia Techs, Boston Colleges, can't think of who it would be in like the SEC and Big Ten, but the Northwesterns, perhaps Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's been playing well lately. I don't know that they're going to have the NIL resources to compete at the level. The school that I cover, the program that I cover, the University of Virginia, going through a coaching change, and so going through a big transfer portal upheaval right now. And a reason why you're going to see fewer and fewer Cinderellas in the March Madness going forward is because the big schools with the money are able to poach the good players from those mid-majors that could lead them to some upsets, and they're putting them together and making them into big boy teams. Right now Virginia's gotten 3 transfers in all or double-digit scores. Now, 1 came from Oklahoma, so that's another big boy school. But then North Dakota State and Toledo, guys who average 17 points a game at those schools. Those when the mid-majors lose that kind of talent to the big boys, it's hard to compete with the big boys. They got to go find another guy and develop that guy. Yeah. And by the time that guy develops, he's going somewhere else to make money. So that's where you're going to lose your Cinderellas going forward.
Hey, you look at the Gators, a perfect example. Clayton was at Iona, and you look at some of these other guys. Martin was at FAU, who made the Final Four 2 years ago. And people are like, "Oh, this is a veteran team." They never played together in the tournament, and they came. It's like it's like you're at the rec league. It's a pickup 5-on-5. Hey, let's go run it, see what we can do, and they won the title. So here's my next question: what did you think of that title game with about 2 minutes to go? I'm still 2 days later. I'm still shocked by what happened.
Well, yeah, the big comeback, getting back in the game against for Florida, get back in the game against the team that Houston. I mean, that's a great defensive team, and they made Florida play their pace just like they made Duke play their pace. I'm a guy that pays attention to pace. I covered Tony Bennett for 15 years. Houston Duke game, Duke had 58 possessions in that game. Duke plays 70 possessions a game, and they had 10 or 12 less possessions to play with. And so Kelvin Sampson did a great job in both those games. If you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me playing my game. I love coaches who can do that. But it was kind of a mirror image in a sense of the way Houston beat Duke was. All right, we're going to play you tough, play you close, and then you're going to make mistakes at the end, and sort of similar. I mean, Florida went out and won the game, so it's not like Duke collapsed. Florida went out and made some plays, but it comes down to 19.7 seconds left. You've got a timeout. You draw up a play. And it's a 2-point game because of the missed free throw. One of the two missed free throws left the door open for Houston to either go for the tie or go for the win. The TV announcers are screaming, go, set up a shot and you can either, go inside, get in the paint, get a shot to tie the game, or if they take that away, kick it back out. Florida, give them credit against the team that is known for its defense. Florida totally defends that possession as well as you can ever defense a last second possession. Houston never got the ball inside of the 3-point line in that possession. Incredible defense set up there and played there, executed there. Houston was trying to set screens and get guys open, and they just couldn't do anything. I've never that's again, I covered Tony Bennett for 15 years. I appreciate great defense in these kind of situations. That's masterclass great defense in a championship situation.
So the last two possessions, Kelvin Sampson said it's going to keep them up at night because they didn't get a shot off. The season's on the line, championship game. You didn't even get it. Throw the ball up in the air, see what happens. Don't get a shot off. Okay, here's my question for you and for our viewers, listeners. Yeah, this is Chris Graham of the Augusta Free Press. He has written books on basketball, okay? Books, not a tweet, not a blog. He's written full-page books on this. All right, you're down 2 points. I thought coaching 101 is get a shot up as quickly as you can, so if you miss, at least you can maybe get a rebound. Now, I get, hey, maybe you get to about 8 seconds, take the shot. Because if you hit it, tie game, Florida will get a possession to end the game. If it's tied, then you go down to the end of the clock and get your shot. Isn't that basketball 101 in that situation?
It felt, to a degree, I don't know that Houston, though, was trying to bleed clock. I think it was just the pressure defense, on-ball pressure defense at the top. Took away any ability. Now, it didn't look like to me I've only watched the play the one time. I didn't go back and watch it several times after, like I sometimes would, especially if it was Virginia.
I did. I'll put my hand up. I did. I watched it 5 times now. I'm still in shock.
So my memory of it, though, is I was expecting what Houston would do would be to set up a high screen. Typical basketball play, a high screen. So bring one of your bigs out, past the 3-point line, run your point guard by him. And then that starts your action. It's not necessarily that's your whole play, but that starts your action. At least, get your point guard a little bit of space. Maybe he finds a guy open off the pass. He has the ability to penetrate the lane and kick out or get a shot himself or the roller. I mean, that's what I was expecting. Florida, to their credit, did not even allow that to happen. The dribbler was funneled over to the side in front of the bench. Was double teamed there. A great hard hedge on the screen there defensively. A screener for Houston was so confused. The center ran over and tried to set another screen after the ball handler picked the ball up. So he clogged the area up even more. Again, it was just great defense. So I don't know that Houston was trying to bleed clock and get the last shot. I think Florida forced them into that.
All right, that is your official statement. I've been waiting 48 hours to get your statement on this. I know you saw the play in real time. The Gators did not score a field goal in the last 2 minutes. Neither did Houston. How did the Gators take the lead with 2 minutes to go? They hit 3 free throw shots. So in theory, I know this is where John Shire is swearing in his car right now. So with 2 minutes to go, here's what the Gators did and what Duke did not do. Gators hit their free throws, 3 out of 4 with the game on the line. They understood how to beat a full court press. They understand how to inbounds the ball. And I mean, I've been saying this for 2 days. These are things they teach you when you start playing organized basketball, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade. How do we break the press? Hit your free throws. And what you said, play defense. That's how when you look at Duke, are they just going to eat themselves alive that they blew that game with 30 seconds to go?
Well, they blew it in the last 10 minutes too, though. They only made 1 field goal in the last 10-18 of that game.
How? How is that possible?
Yeah, the 3-pointer by Cooper Flagg, I think, was 3:17 to go on the clock. That put them up 9. So even though for 7 minutes they hadn't made a field goal, they make a 3 and they're up 9. So they were playing good defense too for that long stretch. But yeah, the basics, and John Shire and Duke had gone. I mean, to say that a group went all in on a season, they went all in on the season. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal about all the dark money in Duke basketball that went out and bought this great team, but not only bought the team. Shire had been the subject of criticism for in big games, his inability maybe to draw up the winning play, and the mental aspect of being able to win close games. And so they went out and they hired and used all season long these mental health, sports psychologists, counselors to work with their guys. But an issue for Duke, an obvious one, was they played a 20-game plus the ACC tournament, so 23-game ACC schedule, and really were only they lost the one game to Clemson. Similar situation. They had a chance to win the game at the end. Cooper Flagg, in that case, fell down and bounced the ball off his leg, and they turned it over and lost the game. They had a couple early season games, I think Kansas and Kentucky, but the ACC schedule. So after about December 20th, they beat everybody like a drum. Now, there was one close game in the ACC tournament without Cooper Flagg. They beat Carolina without Cooper Flagg in a close game. But when they were at full strength, they were never challenged. And so, I'm kind of reminded of that UNLV team that was undefeated back in the early 90s, had, run through everybody, beat everybody by 20 points. They get down to Duke in the Final Four and don't know what to do because they've never been in that situation. Right. Duke was in the same situation this year.
That's a great point. So who did UNLV play that year? What conference were they even in? And look,
West Coast Conference or whatever that was at the time, Western Athletic Conference. And the ACC this year was pretty similar. I mean, Duke ran through the ACC tournament without Cooper Flagg.
Yeah,
they beat Carolina and beat the heck out of Louisville in the final. Beat the heck out of them without Cooper Flagg. So you don't get challenged. You don't have to win close games during the season. You don't have practice winning close games. You will do things like inbound the ball to the wrong guy. You'll miss 1-and-1s. You'll foul on the missed 1-and-1 rebound and miss the shot at the end. They set the play for Cooper Flagg. That's the play you want. You want the ball in the number one pick's hands. He backed his guy down, missed a little 8-foot shot.
Why do you see? Okay, so my good friend Coach Billy Mims, who has over 600 wins in European basketball and Division II basketball, this was his thoughts on Monday on this show. I will quote him. Games on the line, seasons on the line. Why are you taking a fadeaway shot from 8 feet away? Get to the rim. At least you can get a foul. I know he had a look. Don't go with a fadeaway on that shot. I know. Look, it's bang, bang. I get it. Don't take a fadeaway in that situation.
Well, but it was an 8-foot, and he faded a little bit, but he had a clean look. He just pulled he pulled the string. I mean, that shot he's made a million times in his lifetime.
When he didn't though? He missed it there. I'm a hater.
Yeah, and I don't know, though, that Flagg is the kind of guy that's going to attack the rim quite that well, especially, I mean, he had his guy, he sealed him off, and they cleared it. There's no excuse. He got the shot that he wanted. He just missed the shot. And
I just want to clarify this with Chris Graham. UNLV, who did they have? Larry Johnson, Greg Anthony, Stacey Augmon, 3 NBA players. Okay, they were a loaded team. But you know what it is? And I want your thoughts. So you're absolutely right. Duke was not tested the whole year. They weren't ready to be in that buzzsaw with Houston. Gators were. You look at a tournament run. So you go the UConn game. You could go some of the Maryland game, the Texas Tech game, the Auburn game. They were the only team built to beat Houston's buzzsaw on defense. They're the only, and that's what happened in the tournament. That was the difference. Okay, and I'm going to bring this up with you. So when you look at Phil Jackson, you got to read this one book from him where it's the final season. So he chronicles the Kobe and Shaq Lakers and the year the year they lose to Detroit in the 2004 finals. And they're, and Kobe's flying to Colorado with the court case and Shaq's being, like a baby after a while. He brings up in that book, there'd be games in December and January where the team is bored, and he would put them in bad situations on purpose to see how they would do in those. So they're like, oh yeah, we got some random game in San Antonio. We're up 10. I'm going to put a terrible lineup out there and just see how they do. you've got to, I can't believe I'm going to say this. Like, if you're John Shire moving forward, yeah, you better put yourself in these situations to be ready for March Madness. Is that fair, Chris, when you look at it?
And the last ACC national champion is the school that I cover, University of Virginia, 2019. That year, the ACC had 3 number 1 seeds. That was Virginia,
right.
Carolina, and Duke, number 1 seeds. And so as a result, not only so all 3 of those teams had been battle tested all year long. The ACC had 9 or 10 teams out of their, at that point, 14, I think it was, that were in the tournament. Up and down, the ACC is great. You play tough games all season long. UVA gets in the tournament that year. They're down 14 in the first round, come back and win by 15. The second game, I think Virginia led that one against Oklahoma pretty much all the way. The Sweet 16 game, Oregon was another one that was a tight game.
That's right.
Virginia won that one. Obviously, we remember. A lot of folks will remember the Purdue game. The shot that tied it at the buzzer went to overtime and won. The 3 free throws in against Auburn with less than a second to go from Kyle Guy. Overtime win over Texas Tech. They had been winning games like that all season long, though, because they had practice in those situations, so that was not new. UNLV 1991, Duke 2025. When you win, when you're so good that you win, by 20 points without really breaking a sweat, you're not going to. When Virginia's in a season where they're a national contender, there are games where the fan base, because fan bases do this, wow, that was an unusually tough game against Boston College or Notre Dame. That's a bad thing. We only won that one. We had to win it in the end. I write about those games and say, this is the kind of game you need to win in January or February so that you can win those games in March. And you're right. And I think the ACC is going to be better. So it's not going to be that, John Shire has to put himself in those situations and going forward. But and the SEC this year was so good. So many teams were at a top level that you had to play those games night in and night out. You get to March, you've done this 100 times. This is not going to scare you.
There are a bunch of teams in the ACC with very deep pockets, and I think they saw the SEC and go, what the hell is this? Even at Chapel Hill, North Carolina, that is an embarrassment. They barely made the tournament. You're North Carolina. What are you doing? Like, I'm sorry. You can't be that bad moving forward. You can't. You're a blue blood for a reason.
Well, and they're spending money. They brought a GM in, so they're trying to do some different things, bring an NBA front office approach to it. Virginia's got a new coach. They're spending a lot more money. I know that from covering UVA on a daily basis. They're spending a lot more money in NIL. They're going to be competitive just because of the new coach, the new style of play, and then the guys they're bringing in. Looking at some of the other schools in the ACC, I mean, Syracuse probably, they went with the right-hand man of the longtime guy, Jim Boeheim, hadn't been working out. There's a coaching brain drain in the ACC. Duke got it right with John Shire. The jury's still out at Carolina with Hubert Davis replacing Roy Williams. I like Ryan Odom replacing Tony Bennett at Virginia, but he's not coached a game yet and won't for several months. Those were the 3 schools that have been the teams of the last 10 years in the ACC. So, Syracuse is a name. Louisville built something out of nothing this year with 10 transfers, but all those guys are gone. So he's going to have to do it again. Pat Kelsey, but he did a great job in year 1. Louisville is a blue blood in the ACC. So, the ACC will be back. It's going to take some time. But I think you'll see 4 or 5 schools that are up there, at least somewhat competitive with Duke going forward, but not like the SEC, at least for the next couple of years.
Here's what's funny. So I'm here with Chris Graham, Augusta Free Press. I'll let you go. I always love talking sports with you. I asked you before we came on, hey, you want to preview WrestleMania? And you go, it's not even this weekend. It's 2 weekends from now.
Yeah.
What? So when was the Royal Rumble? In January? And they're just, oh my, what are they doing?
We've been getting used to either the late March or early April. Because the last few years it was the same weekend as the Final Four. Yeah. And so, and that was actually fun because I'd have 2 TVs going on Saturday night, and then Sunday it was their night, and I didn't even think about that until you asked me. Like, yeah, it's still 2 weeks away. And it's not like aren't they in Vegas this year? So it's not like they're in a cold weather city where they have to wait it out. They did New York in March outdoors in the Giants and Jets stadium. So that's not. I don't know what they're doing.
All right, here's what we should do. I know your wife watches this. She's a very nice lady. Okay, I think we should bet on it. I know that's the stupidest thing. Like, seriously, I know you could do sports betting on something that is a fixed ending. This is so easy to call. I think we should, even if we just bet $5. Here's what we're going to do. Since we have 2 weeks to figure this out, I'm going to put together the card.
Okay.
You will come back on. We will make our picks.
Okay.
And I think this is going to be the easiest picks ever because I hate this card and I love the WWE. I think it's a terrible 2-night event. I'm sorry. I'll be watching. How about we do that? Come back and right before Mania, we'll do it.
That'll be good. Give me a chance to study. Yeah, like you said, this is pretty easy to do. It's like watching an episode of Raw. There are no surprises, but maybe we'll find the one surprise. So let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. His name's Chris Graham-Augusta Free Press. My man, thanks for your help and have a great day.
Thanks, man.